Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 117 of the Best Games Period. I'm your host, Jack Gardner, and with me is the incorrigible Naomi Lugo.
Not incorrigible, incorrigible.
Incorrigible. Indirigible. Sanitary.
Ew.
Naomi Lugo.
I try to be sanitary.
Yeah, I mean, you are in sanitary, right? You're in the sanitary.
Sure.
This is the podcast where we talk about naming Naomi and adjectives. Right. No, this is the podcast where we talk about a game every week that we think might be considered one of the best games of all time.
And you know what month it is? Do you know what month it is?
It's not October anymore.
It is not. We have a new theme.
Oh my gosh!
And that theme is Pokemon.
Gotta catch 'em all.
So I'm obviously excited. Pokemon is my jam, but we're doing this for practical reasons as well.
Are we?
Yes, we are. No, I'm not just being a Pokemon nerd. There's a new Pokemon game. Well, I say new again with quotes, but there's a Pokemon Go. Oh my god, there's a Pokemon game coming out very soon for the Switch.
Get out of town.
I know, right? It's going to be out on November 16th, and I am, of course, talking about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu or Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. So, which team are you on?
Eevee, because I've been Team Pikachu before. I want to see what it's like on the other side.
All right, fair enough. I'm also Team Eevee because my life is Pikachu saturated. So
yeah, you were even
not that
Pikachu
it's not
for
Eevee
Halloween.
saturated. Yeah, that's just because I have Pikachu stuff enough where I could dress up like Pikachu for Halloween, which just further validates my point.
Having Eevee stuff sounds like it would be harder anyway.
I do still though. I have I have an Eevee backpack, an Eevee wallet, and an Eevee plushie. The various Eeveelutions, not all of them yet, but I will get there eventually.
I mean, I feel like it'd be hard to dress up as recognizably as Eevee as opposed to like a furry, for example. You know?
Yeah, you would look pretty much like a furry.
Yeah,
just like brown long ears and like a really cute like fluffy scarf thingy. Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah. So yeah, Pokemon month.
Yeah.
I don't know what else we're going to be talking about this month, but I know that today we're going to be talking about Pokemon Snap.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap indeed. Well played. Well played.
Oh man, is my nerd showing or what? I'm just giddy over here.
Well, before we get into that, is there any video game news you want to discuss?
I mean, I have news that I have been playing something other than a mobile game.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And that is, of course, Red Dead. I've only played like an hour's worth,
okay, but
it is freaking gorgeous from what I've seen so far. It's stupid pretty. Like, I was nerding out and like I was brushing up against snow on trees to see if it would fall, and it did. I was like watching my footsteps as I walked through deep snow and playing around with cinematic mode, which is both genius and stupid at the same time because it takes the camera out to these cinematic angles, right? But you're still playing the game, so you could very realistically run into something that can kill you or run off a cliff or something.
Yeah.
But it's still fun to play with. So, yeah.
Well, cool.
Finally played another game.
Yeah.
How about you? Did you play anything new this week?
I finished RimWorld finally. It took me 10 days and 124 hours, but I did it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you might recognize 124 hours as being over half of 10 days. So I was doing that along with, doing other work things.
And not sleeping.
Yeah, I'm very tired. But, yeah, I haven't really been playing anything else. So, yeah, I guess the only news-related thing that I think is super interesting, there are actually two things. one, Extra Life Game Day is coming up. It's actually it was actually last weekend, so it's not coming up. It happened,
but there's still lovely fundraisers out there who are going to be doing events throughout the rest of the year. So keep an eye out.
And if you're motivated to do something, you can hold your own fundraiser at any point from here to the end of the year and raise some more money for Extra Life. So it's not too late. Head over to extra-life.org to sign up and learn more. And donate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, have you seen the new Super Smash Bros. Ultimate trailer?
I did not.
It shows the opening cinematic for the new adventure mode, the story mode. And the joke going around is that Sakurai used that as an opportunity to just kind of vent his frustration with the franchise that he has been shackled to for the past, I don't know, how long has it been? 15 years?
Yeah, at least. It's got to be at least 15.
But it opens up with like the entire cast of characters has been assembled, and they're on like that iconic looking cliff that is in all of the trailers for every single one of these games. And like I think Kid Icarus like points off at the horizon, and then the camera shifts around.
Fox McCloud.
And it's Fox McCloud. So you have seen it.
I'm watching it as we speak.
Okay. And the camera pans around to like just this giant eldritch entity in the sky and a million master hands coming down. And then they all like combine their power and shoot like a giant laser beam that proceeds to vaporize each and every single member of the roster. It's like a Thanos type moment from Avengers Infinity War. Like you watch as Zelda and Link and Duck Hunt Dog, everyone just gets obliterated by this thing, with the exception of Kirby. So Kirby is going to be our little
Kirby's
protagonist.
Demon.
Yeah,
a cute little demon, but
he pushes the little star he rides so hard that he pops into a different dimension. And that's how he escapes it.
I love Kirby.
Yeah, and so like the plot of this adventure mode is going to be Kirby going around a really surprisingly well-crafted looking overworld and freeing his friends and like freeing their souls, because in Smash Brothers Ultimate there's not going to be any assist trophies like there were in the previous Smash Brothers games. They're replacing them with souls.
Oh my god, this is really brutal.
Yeah,
and I love that the Wii Yoga lady was just doing like a tree pose to try to avoid being obliterated.
Yeah, no, like
what?
Like it's just the funniest thing to see the characters that have absolutely no business being alongside some of these like more powerful characters on the roster just get absolutely obliterated for no reason.
It's a pent-up frustration.
What was Duck Hunt Dog gonna do?
Laugh. Just point and laugh.
Oh gosh.
Well,
but yeah, that was a pretty amazing trailer / cinematic, and I'm excited.
It is very dramatic. Like I'm at the point where Kirby's just smashing into the earth.
Yeah.
Like oh. But yeah, so that game comes out December 6th or something like that.
I might have to get a Nintendo Switch just for that.
I already have to for Pokemon, of course.
Oh, right.
I already had a Switch, and I got rid of it after playing Breath of the Wild. I know, but yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, Mario's evil. Sorry, distracted here. But there's a lot more titles that are on the Switch now that I will actually play and actually take that little thing around now. So I'm excited again. Like I don't feel like I'm being swindled into buying a Switch just because of a remake Pokemon game. I actually feel like it's valuable now. So yeah. And if I can get my hands on a special edition, I mean, I'd be cool with Pikachu or Eevee, but any other special edition would be pretty cool then. I think there's like a Diablo, or I just said Diablo version that just came out too. So
oh, right.
That'd be pretty sweet. But yeah, are we ready to talk about some photography and Pokemon?
Yeah, this is kind of your wheelhouse, so I'm going to let you, on both of those fronts, so I'm going to let you just take this and run with it.
All right, so...
Which, by the way, I don't think we haven't really brought it up before, but you're like a professional photographer.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you're not like a professional photographer. You are a professional photographer.
I have indeed been hired to take the photos before. Yes, it's kind of within my huge wheelhouse of just content creation in general. But yeah, I have taught photography. I've done photography as a professional. I've done it as a fan. Yeah, so I can do them photos. So this game, Pokemon Snap, the basic premise is that you are Todd Snap, who was a very minor character in the original.
Gosh. I forgot that his actual name is Snap.
He's an actual character. Yep. It's
the dumbest.
He was in an episode of the first season of the Pokemon anime, and he was trying to take a picture of Pikachu because he had been tricked by the devious Team Rocket, because they're dumb and they wanted to capture Pikachu, and somehow it got mixed up that Todd Snap would be capturing Pikachu literally and not in a photographic sense. But he, being a world-renowned Pokemon photographer at age 10,
was he also 10?
I'm just assuming that he was 10. They didn't really put any details. I'm sure there's some wiki page out there that has actual information, but he's 10-ish. But he likes photographing Pokemon in their natural element, which is kind of ironic, and we'll get into that later. But he's trying to capture Pikachu, and Pikachu is not having it. That's the episode. I think he trails along with them for another episode or two, but then he kind of just goes away. So it's a very minor character in the grand scheme of things. But he doesn't really have a story arc. There isn't really a story arc in this game because your main objective is just to take pictures of Pokemon in various locations. That is the gist of it. And you're collecting these photos for Professor Oak and his database or something like that, right? And Professor Oak has a very specific way he judges his photos, right? And he needs very technical photos. So you as the player are not only supposed to capture photos of every single Pokemon that you see, but you are also supposed to have it perfectly centered, have the Pokemon be as large as possible, but in frame, preferably have multiple Pokemon of that same type in there, and have them in special poses or have them being happy. So Professor Oak knows what he likes, and he wants you to go out and take photos of these guys. And as far as actual gameplay goes, you are literally on rails, going around Pokemon Island in various locations, and you are swiveling around and taking photos. Yeah. It's simple, but it's addictive, and it's adorable, and really dumb at the same time. So, yeah. I don't even know what to ask you first about this game.
I do know. So I just looked up Todd on Bulbapedia because why not?
Mm-hmm.
His name is indeed Todd Snap, and he is 10 years old. And it does lead me to question, why does Professor Oak use so much child labor?
It's cheap.
I mean,
I know, right? Old man, yeah. Go out. You have these carts and rails around your entire island. You already constructed this. Don't tell me you constructed it just for Todd. Like, this infrastructure was there for you to get your own photos.
Right. And also, like, he's handing out Pokedexes to 10-year-old kids. Like, no, go hire an actual employee, you well, lazy punk.
There's this amazing fan theory that the Pokemon world is in a not post-apocalyptic, but like post-major world war where it restructured society, where kids have to be a major part of the economy. And it's a pretty detailed theory, so I won't get into it too much. But yeah, they're people will pretty much try to explain their way out of anything, right? So in the game, it's first generation, but you can't, not every single Pokemon is in there, not all 151. But in general, you go to different locations and it corresponds with the type. Like, you go to the volcano and you see fire types and whatnot. So I'll ask you, what was your favorite location to play?
You know, I liked kind of the more idyllic locations where you just kind of see them frolicking in fields and stuff, and like jumping out of the water, and like the kind of, it's like, I know it's like a little bit more vanilla than some of the other locations, but yeah,
that's totally fine. I mean, these worlds are ridiculous, right? And your sense of immersion can get depleted pretty quickly because as you're going through these rails, the Pokemon do the exact same thing every single time. Which is good for gameplay, because it would be ridiculous if it wasn't, but it makes it a little cheesy and stupid, like I said before. But I still appreciate that aspect, right? So your goal in the game is to collect these photos, right? And they have to be a certain amount of quality as judged by Professor Oak. But it also is your
Who's very finicky about his judgments.
There's plenty of photos that I liked more, but for some technical standpoint, were not as good in Professor Oak's eyes. So that's a little frustrating. But that's the technology of the time, right?
Well, and it's life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the controls of the game, they're challenging, but that's why I think this game is a success, you know? It's still playable, like you can still get past, but there's still challenge if you want to go the extra mile and beat the game and go, you know, to Rainbow Cloud and capture a picture of Mew. You have to work a little bit extra to get there, right? And there's a little bit of puzzle aspects here and there, but generally I really enjoyed the challenge of the controls, which, oh my goodness, can be really ridiculous. So as you're moving down these rails, you're not stopping at all unless a Pokemon gets in front of your tracks.
It does slow down in certain places, though.
Yes. Or if you run into a Meowth and just like drag them along the rail. But so that's the challenge of it, and you have to press the Z button because this is Nintendo 64. To zoom in, and then you press, oh my gosh, is it A or something like that to actually take the photos. So not only do you have to look at your subject, you have to do it while moving, zooming in, and then actually clicking it, which, it kind of resembles an actual camera, right? You don't just point the camera at something and it's a photo. You have to focus the lens, you have to capture your subject when it's, you know, at the right moment, and you have to actually finally snap that photo, right? And motion photography is some of the most difficult that you can do, right? At least do it in an interesting way. So I did appreciate that aspect of it. What did you think of the controls?
Like you said, there's definitely a big learning curve, although I never really, I just assumed that it was supposed to be analogous to actually taking pictures on like a professional camera. And so like that's I guess that's how I rationalized the complexity of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Or how difficult I found the controls to master were to master. And I guess I was kind of wondering, like, is this game like what got you interested in photography?
Not necessarily. My mom is an artist, so art has always kind of been a part of my life. The way I use art is definitely in a more practical sense. Like I've been a photojournalist before, and there's still art in that aspect, but I haven't really done art photography. But I still liked photography and art and all that before this game. At least before I played this game. I definitely didn't play this game at launch, at least not on my own. It was one of those cases where, you go to a friend's house and play the game, right? But then I got it later on my own Nintendo 64, whenever that was. So I was probably at least around 11 or 12 when I got my Nintendo 64. So it was well established then, and I just really appreciated that aspect because I had already been collecting my disposable cameras and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are so nostalgic for this game because there aren't a whole lot of games out there that control like this or even have similar subject matter to this, which is kind of strange given how big of a cult classic Pokemon Snap is generally considered to be.
Yeah, and it seems like a relatively easy concept to work with, right? The on-rails, like we talked about this when we talked about Typing in the Dead. It seems like it would be replicable. Jeez.
Replicable, yeah.
Replicable in other genres or even other properties by Nintendo. If we had a Mario on-rails photography game, I mean, why not,
Yeah.
We have...
Can I just interject while you mention
yes.
Typing of the Dead? One of our listeners recommended a game called Epistory, which I don't think we've brought up yet. I haven't played it. I don't believe Naomi's played it.
I have not.
But it is a narrative kind of branching RPG adventure with controls that are based around typing. And it looks really, really neat, actually. It's been out for a couple years on Steam, so if you're looking for like a typing game, check it out.
Sweet. Yeah, for sure. Because we were talking about during that episode that this game was not for everyone. So it was kind of a bummer that, you could genuinely learn typing from this game. And as an adult player, I definitely did, and I enjoyed the raunchy aspects of it as well. But I understand that a younger audience might not be able to play this game. So thank you so much for that recommendation from the user, or from the listener that recommended that.
The listener user.
But so I mean, yeah, there's definitely that nostalgia factor to it, but I also think it holds up nowadays. Like, I booted this game up. Yeah. I booted this game up like a month or two ago because I was preparing for Pokemon Month a month or two ago. Yes.
Of course you were.
Because I had stumbled upon a copy at my local independent video game store, and I was like, hell yes, it's happening. I borrowed a Nintendo 64, and I played that game all damn day. All day. I got to the last level. I did not unlock Rainbow Road. Or not Rainbow Road. Oh my gosh. Rainbow Cloud. Sorry, mixing up my Nintendo.
Close enough.
And I still had so much fun with this game. I had so much fun. And I know that there are definitely some technical limitations and graphical limitations. Obviously, it's not looking like our 3DS or Switch versions of Pokemon, but because of those challenging controls, I think it makes the game a lot more interesting. Like, if this game didn't have, whether or not they be intentional, or at least completely intentional or not, the controls are what makes it fun, Like, you have to constantly be learning different ways to get each photo, right? So, and I mean that on the control aspect, not the game aspect, because we'll talk about that in a bit too. Like, you have to capture, like, I think is the river level, you have to capture metapods, and they are moving up and down off of the ceiling as you go through a tunnel. And the first couple times you go through that, unless you're like a ridiculous pro, you're probably not going to get a great photo of the Metapod. Oh, another thing about Professor Oak, he does not like photos of the backs of Pokemon, so you have to get their face, if you will.
Yep.
So I played through these levels a ton of times just to get an angle that not only Professor Oak liked, but one that I was happy with.
Were you judging your own photos?
Yes, and like there's this feature where you can select your own favorite photos, right? And I found it a point of pride, as I did back in the day, to make this compendium look as nice as it could. Like, I wanted my Dragonite picture to be as best as I could do it. I wanted my Vulpix photo to be great, and my Vulpix photo was like the best one that I had. So like, you can do bare minimum, and you can pass, but I just enjoyed going back and trying to get those photos of the Pokemon again, because I knew a better way to do it the next time around. Like I said, the Vulpix one, you pass the Vulpix on the volcano trail, and you can get a really close photo of one. But there's a technique when you unlock the apples, you can throw the apples, but then there's a way where you can gather more than one Vulpix, and I got like a nice symmetrical photo of one happy Vulpix in the middle and then two on the side kind of looking at this apple, and it was awesome. Like, I just really enjoyed that kind of thing, and it's kind of interesting because I'm not a completionist at all in like any other type of game except for, well, not even Pokemon. Like, I'm not the type of Pokemon player where I need to catch them all literally, which I know can be like sacrilege for other Pokemon players. But if it's a strong enough Pokemon game, I will be compelled to max out the content, you know? It, like, the main series ones don't always capture me that way, but for some reason these offshoots do, if that makes sense. Like, maybe it's because it's more digestible. Like, there's only, I think it's something like 63 Pokemon total versus what some other games can be, which are ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's just something that makes it more compelling for me to challenge myself in this game versus other games, I guess.
So why do you think they haven't made like a sequel to Pokemon Snap, or because again, and this is something that I come back to almost every time we talk about a Nintendo game, and it's like they are purposely just not doing something because they're allergic to money or something.
They really are. My goodness. I had a conversation about this with Marcus Stewart, friend of the show, and we determined that Nintendo has embedded brain worms in us that make us absolutely addicted to their characters and their properties. And since they know they have control over us like that, they don't have to do what makes sense anymore.
I mean, fair. But it's just that you're not alone in wanting to get like the best Pokemon Snap picture.
Oh, no, not at all. This game is definitely a cult hit, like you said.
But imagine building like even just as rudimentary as Pokemon Snap was, just building it like that now, and then adding the feature to share the pictures you take in game on social media.
Well, yeah, like I was thinking, if they combined at least like even a tiny aspect of this with Pokemon Go, oh my god, like that would be amazing. People already use AR mode and try to get awesome photos. People fake it and Photoshop them too, but can you imagine if they added that aspect too, where maybe you could like walk with your Pokemon and then take an AR photo with them? I mean, come on. This stuff practically, it rolls itself out. But
yeah, I mean, like, just the general ideas. Like, and that's not even considering, like, one of the flaws I consider Pokemon Snap to have is that it has a criminal lack of content.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I look at that game and there are so many little things that could have been added to make it an even better game, but that core gameplay concept is still so strong that I understand why it's still a cult hit. But the fact that Nintendo hasn't gone back and looked at it again and expanded on that main concept more and more is baffling to me. Especially
it's insanity.
Especially when you have two perfect systems in a row to unroll a photography game on, like the Wii U, the Nintendo
3DS.
Switch, 3DS. Like these handheld things where you can literally hold up the controllers like a camera.
And the 3DS has a camera within it, even though you can't do screenshots. Yeah, I know. Like, it's Nintendo insanity. I don't know how else to put it. Like, if Nintendo decided to launch even some of the older Pokemon games as mobile games, they would make so much money. They could charge probably $20 for those games and still make a lot of money.
Pull a Square Enix.
You know? Yeah, exactly. And they wouldn't even have to remaster it. Like, they would just have to make a mobile port of it. And that already exists because fans have already made it with ROMs and whatnot. But they haven't done anything official because why? Who knows? It's Nintendo. That's just what they do. Like you said, they're allergic to money. But, I mean, I'll go back to what you said about the criminal lack of content. And not to defend Nintendo here, but I'm going to use a quote that designers often use, is that good design is not, a plethora of pretty things. It's when you no longer have to take anything away. Mm-hmm. So I actually really admire the simplicity here. Yeah, you could have I don't know, just spitballing, but RPG features. Because you took a certain amount of photos of Magikarp, you are now a water type aficionado, and you'll get 10% more points on water type photos, stuff like that.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about add more unlockable areas. Like you took 15 excellent pictures of Magikarp. Well, you just unlocked a special underwater level where you go in a submarine under the ocean, or just I don't know. I'm
just more.
I'm spitballing. Yeah, just more locations, more Pokemon. Like you said, there are only 60, and the original first gen had 151. So, I don't know, or more different types of lures and baits, and just all kinds of different things to sink your teeth into with those mechanics. And I totally understand what you're saying about simplicity, though. But again, I still think that they could have done more,
But Nintendo hates us, so they give us what they will.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
No. You're gonna get something you never asked for.
Whoa.
But yeah, speaking of those lures, it's another part of the ethics of Pokemon that just doesn't add up, because, I mean, a big issue with Pokemon is that you're pretty much enslaving these creatures against their will most of the time, unless you're Ash Ketchum, and making them fight each other, which is painful. And then as the trainer, you get all the glory, right? And then you can also banish your Pokemon to a computer, never to be seen again. So another offshoot of that is that in this game, Todd, even though he is a total proponent of natural photography, ends up throwing stuff at Pokemon to piss them off, feeding the wildlife, which is definitely a big no-no, and you're not supposed to stage photography at all, and just general bad stuff like that. What are they called? It's pester balls. It's in the name. You're pestering these poor Pokemon. And Snorlax, he's sleeping on the beach. You're gonna wake him up with that flute so you can just roll on by and take a photo of him. What a jerk.
Maybe Professor Oak offered him a deal he couldn't refuse.
Maybe. I mean, jeez. So, I just thought that was kind of funny in the.
So you're arguing that
animal abuse.
You're arguing that Todd is betraying his character, his detailed
absolutely.
Character.
He was annoying in the show because he had to get the perfect picture of Pikachu man, he has to be happy and natural.
Are you telling me that you wouldn't also want to get the perfect picture of Pikachu?
I would, but I wouldn't, like, force everyone's lives to be disrupted for however long that episode went on. Like, just walk away for now, and then when the opportunity arises, go back. Like, yeah, it was dumb. It's a video game-ism that just happened.
He's also 10.
I thought it was funny. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, we were speaking about lack of content. I was also devastated to learn that they almost made a ghost level.
What?
But because there was only 3 ghost Pokemon, they scrapped it. I was like, no! We would have definitely loved that.
Were there only 3 ghost Pokemon in Gen 1?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar. That's it.
And they're all the same Pokemon.
I know. Yeah, they're in the same branch. Yeah, I mean, at least in the anime, we kind of lump in the psychic types with that because we had the creepy psychic type episode. But yeah, that's it. I would have totally been happy with the level with just those guys anyway, doing goofy crap.
Yeah, goofy ghosts.
Yeah. But I will speak to a little bit more complexity about the game, and that's kind of the secrets and the things that you have to figure out in order to get certain Pokemon. Like in the volcano level, there is an egg that rolls down the track. And if you knock it out of the way, I think with the Pester Ball, and it falls into the volcano, it will turn into a Moltres, and then you'll get a great photo of Moltres. That one's a little bit more common. But later on in that level, there is like 3 little volcanoes off to the right. And if you throw, I think it's an apple into them, you can get a Growlithe to appear. But if you are persistent enough, you can also get a Arcanine to show up. But you have to try a couple times unless you're lucky. And then even later on in that same level, if you, again, as a jerk, push a Charmeleon into the fire, you can turn him into a Charizard, you know? And those are the little things that either you heard about from your friends talking about Pokemon Snap, or, you know, you accidentally did and stumbled upon, that I think makes this game still as big of a thing now. Like, there's people who stream this on YouTube, and one of the biggest draws they have is that they got them all, you know, and that they can show you all of the secrets in this game. Like, another one is, I think it's in the waterfall level. Like, in order to get Gyarados to pop out, you have to, I think, oh gosh, it's complicated. It's like knock a Magikarp that, well, you have to like get the Magikarp to like follow you down the waterfall, and then if you do that, you have to also be able to get all of the other things to evolve, and then you will get Gyarados to pop out or something like that. And you have to do all of those things in order to get to Rainbow Cloud and take a picture of Mew. And I think all of that effort adds to the epicness and just lends itself to the mystique that is Mew. And it just keeps on building those things, because you can't miss Mew. You have to do those things if you want to get the full experience of the game.
Yeah.
So I think that adds another layer to it. And especially as collector gamers, we crave that crap.
Do you think that if they made a sequel to Pokemon Snap, like a modern sequel, do you think that it should still be on rails? Or should it be like a more open world type thing? Like you're running around in the Pokemon world taking pictures, and it's less scripted and more these Pokemon kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would love an open world game, absolutely. I think it would have to be that way. But I will speak that there was a little bit of magic created because it was on rails.
Right.
I likened it to, Disneyland rides, where you knew exactly what was happening, but you're still fascinated by all the moving pieces. Like, even though you're watching Meowth run across the track chasing a Pidgey or whatever for the 100th time, there's still something really cool about being able to watch all of this unfurl and just be a part of this world for a moment. I really actually appreciated the on rails, especially for the I think it's the cave level. No, maybe not the cave, but you're going down the waterfall. It's after the river, and you are just floating down, defying physics because there's no rails at this point, and you are looking at Pokemon that are just on ledges, right? It's something that totally practically would not happen, right? You wouldn't just have a bunch of Ditto hanging out and turning into Bulbasaur for whatever reason. But you're floating around and you're seeing just like little bits of magic. That sounded really geeky, but happening all around you.
Okay, video game Bob Ross.
Oh god. Happy little Pokemon. Until you throw a pester ball at them. But yeah, I mean, and I think that lends itself to the cult classicness of it, because we can go back and appreciate the cheesy graphics now because it's just a symbol of the time. That specific style of Pokemon rendering it's very nostalgic of the era when Pokemon first came out, and a lot of us, were younger and started playing these games.
Yeah. So it sounds like you were kind of making the argument that it should be on rails.
No. I think that it would have to be open world, but I didn't want to negate the magic that the on rails feature did create. Okay. But a modern game, I feel like there would be an outrage if there wasn't an open world.
Idea, though. The modern version, so this is just me like spitballing ideas. Modern version uses the on rails segments to train you what behaviors to look for in the wild in different environments.
Or it's the Pokemon Safari, right? And you can go pay to be on the safari on rails and still get your photos. Yeah. That'd be cool. But yeah, I mean, we've been craving an open world Pokemon game for so long, and we're probably going to get it with the new 2019 IP, but I feel like...
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But we're hoping. It's at least on trend that they're going to redo the script for Pokemon, but it's Nintendo.
I would expect them to do a revamp of an open world Pokemon Snap before doing an open world actual Pokemon mainline game, just because it is Nintendo, because they would do something weird like that, right?
They would. But at the same time, I feel like, and you can't hold Nintendo to anything because they're not threatened by us, but I feel like it is time. They have put off an open world too long, and we've gotten the serialized version where it hasn't changed much except for the graphic for so many years. They can't really get away with it anymore. And again, I say that with a grain of salt because they totally could get away with it and I would still buy it. But this is what they wanted to do with the Switch, is redefine these series. And Mario Odyssey was a departure from the series. It was less of a departure than Breath of the Wild was, but it was still something different for the Switch. And then Breath of the Wild, of course, was so different than other Zelda games that we had seen in the past. I'm really hoping that they're going to continue on that trend and make this game at least a little different. Come on, please. But I think every Pokemon fan would just squee in delight if we got to run around with our Pokemon in an open world and have adventures. Like, that's what we all want.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess this is a tough one. Do you think Pokémon Snap is one of the best games, period?
So yeah, it's really hard determining what's a best game, period, versus what's like just a nostalgia favorite or a fan favorite. And I really kind of grappled with that with this game. But I'm going to go with a yes, just because I admire how they executed this in their simplicity and how it felt going back to this game a few months ago when I played through it. And it was still fun as hell. And even though it's not a masterpiece, and it definitely could be 2 times or 3 times as long, and probably should be, I think it still is what they intended it to be. No, how do I want to put that? It's not what it needed to be, but I just think it's almost just this perfect little segment of the Pokemon universe.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna say no, but it's one of those interesting no's where this game, I think, is a really, really good proof of concept for a game that was never made. I think that a sequel to this game, something that refines on the mechanics and kind of updates it for a more current sensibility and really fleshes out some of the things that I feel like were lacking in the original, like, I don't know, a coherent narrative and like some kind of context for the pictures, and expands on the world and just everything, really. I think that has the potential to be a best game, period, because I think the core concept is really solid and the gameplay is really solid. I think that ultimately it just kind of comes down to there not really being quite enough meat on these video game bones to carry it to the best games, period. Like, you know, one of the best games of all time. I definitely agree it's one of the best cult classic games, but I don't necessarily think that elevates it quite up to, you know, one of the best of all time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's what I grappled with. It's like, yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite cult games, but does it hold a candle up to other games that we have deemed best games?
Yeah, and so I just don't think it quite reaches up there, but I would be super interested in, you know, even a spiritual successor, because I feel like it's kind of weird we haven't seen more indie games that have picture taking as a main mechanic. Like, the only games I can think of that have picture taking as like a really vital mechanic, and like I know that it's present in some games like The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, but it's not like a core mechanic.
Well, it's even in Breath of the Wild.
Well, but I would argue that like Fatal Frame and Pokémon Snap, and then there was one other that I was thinking of and I just blanked because I was trying to remember the Legend of Zelda games with pictures in them. But like that's Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah.
But those are really it, and that's kind of weird, right? And there's just a lot of potential.
Yeah, it's like the typing mechanic concept.
Yeah.
Like we want more games with typing. Come on, let's give more games with photography. Especially nowadays, when, if, like I said before, like if you combine this concept with Pokemon Go, oh my god, it would be ridiculous. It would be or it would be free promotion by fans, because we would be sharing that all over social, right? 100%. And more people would try to play it. Like it just yes.
I mean, especially with the modern proliferation of photo modes in video games.
Exactly.
Like, it's a no-brainer to really lean into that for a Pokemon game, a series that everyone loves and goes nuts for. Lean into that, and then you'll get a ton of free publicity on social media just from people taking screenshots of your game and sharing their snaps. And on top of that...
But it's that Nintendo insanity.
Yeah, and on top of that, like... It just... I don't know where I was going with that. I had a point that I was building towards, and I forgot.
It's all good. Well, there are actually some contrarians that we have. Because I know.
Get right out of town.
People who don't like Pokemon, you guys are really bizarre. But I get it. I mean, Pokemon is definitely, I feel it's really either personality type specific or it's generation type specific. Like, even people who aren't Pokemon fanatics in like our age range still might have some fond feelings for Pokemon, but it definitely takes a certain type of person to go to that next level. But yeah, so we got some scores from people on Metacritic, and the first one is from Nick D in 2003, and they gave this a 0.
Oh my goodness.
And they said, I know, if I could give a negative number, I would. It is the dumbest idea for a game ever. And this is all in caps. It is laughable how dumb this game is. And that's it.
Oh, okay. No explanation at all.
Nope.
I remember
the caps say it
I
all.
remembered the point I was going to make. And I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that we expect a certain degree of violence in our games. And taking photographs is like the opposite of that. Like it's a very despite how active the process of taking a photograph is, it's not a violent and powerful action to a lot of people. If you just kind of pitch that concept, it seems kind of passive.
And I'm sure there's plenty of jerks out there who are just throwing stuff at Pokemon because they were getting bored.
Yeah.
I am looking at you all. I can see you.
But it makes sense that maybe this isn't a mechanic we've seen a whole lot, despite how popular it is.
Yeah. All right, and then Alicia in 2004, they also gave it a 0, and they said, "It's Pokemon. Must I say any more?"
Wow, haters gonna hate
Pokemon haters. And then this last one is actually a 4, a score 4. And it was written in 2013. Oh, and we forgot to mention, but there was a Wii port. I don't know much more than that. I don't know if the graphics were similar.
I think they just put it on like the Wii U Virtual Console.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I think it was pretty much the same thing, but on Wii. But they wrote this in 2013. Nimble with a N, 2 N's. They said, original concept, but the gameplay is very lacking overall. Some people find it to be a refreshing change of pace, and it could be worth trying out. However, overall, the game is rather mediocre.
Okay.
So very calm and reasonable response. Yeah. But yeah.
I was waiting for you to add like a stinger that like that was a very calm and reasonable response. Here's the last sentence that they wrote, and it's like something incredibly like racist somehow. I don't know.
It's the milkshake duck.
Yeah. Oh, milkshake duck. It's been a while since I thought about that.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Didn't mean to bring that up again.
I feel like you need to explain what milkshake duck is, though.
Oh man, do I have to?
Yeah.
Alright. I don't even remember how it like coincides with the actual milkshake duck phrase anymore. But it's basically something that we all love, or at least gravitate towards, that is generally viral. Like, I think there was a video of like 2 kids. No. Okay, here it is. There was a video of a kid crying because he got bullied or something like that. But then it turned out that his family was racist, you know? So we all started out liking this kid because we were like, oh man, kid, don't cry. But then it turns out family's racist. So milkshake duck is a phrase that kind of refers to that. Like, oh, you like this puppy dog? Well, turns out the puppy's racist. Sorry. So, yeah.
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 It, yeah, it originates with, I guess, Twitter user Pixelated Boat tweeted out, "The whole internet loves milkshake duck, a lovely duck that drinks milkshakes. 5 seconds later, we regret to inform you that the duck is racist." Which is a great joke.
Okay, that makes sense, because I was trying to rack my brain around what happened with a frickin' duck and a milkshake, and then, okay, that makes sense. There was no actual milkshake and duck. Okay. But yeah, it's Pokemon month. So next week we will be talking about a Pokemon game. And if you want to get nerdy with us and talk Pokemon on our Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, we will gladly oblige.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Speaking of, since we're wrapping up the episode, I should talk about Extra Life. If you're listening to this, Extra Life is a fantastic charity that helps sick and injured kids all across the United States and Canada. And you can sign up and learn more over at extra-life.org. The official game day event took place last Saturday, November 3rd, and it was a really good time. I say, not having experienced it yet, because we're recording this before it actually happened.
Lies!
But it was probably really, really fun, and we probably both had a really great time.
Yeah.
And you can participate at any point. You don't actually have to do it on November 3rd. You can do it at any point you want. So
you could do it on December 3rd.
You could do it December 3rd. You could do it next weekend. You could do it the weekend after that. You could do it on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Any of those days work. So learn more and check it out over at extra-life.org. And you can actually choose which Children's Miracle Network hospital you want to support, and 100% of everything you raise goes directly to that hospital to help sick and injured kids. It's really, really great. And you raise money by playing games. What could be better? So check that out. And also check us out. Hey!
Hey! We bring you great content like a whole month full of spooky games. What? And Pokemon?
A whole
Crazy.
Month minus 1 week?
Well, okay, there were 5 weeks that week, so I'm still going to count it. If we go on an average of 4...
5 weeks that week?
Well, 5 Mondays that week. Sorry, listeners. Podcast semantics. But yeah, if you like what we're doing, feel free to support us on Patreon. We definitely appreciate any love that you guys can throw us. It goes towards making the show better, and it goes towards us making more types of content.
Yeah.
We were even thinking about doing a Patreon-specific type of content that might become a real thing in the future. That can only happen if, you guys show us some love. And, showing us love and support doesn't always have to be monetary. We love hearing from you guys on any of our social platforms, truly. It is so great talking to you guys about video games. We seriously could do it all day. We both work in games. We both do games for fun. And then in our off time, we talk about games. So, yeah, we're game nerds just like you guys, so... yeah, whenever you throw us a like or a comment, we definitely notice and we definitely appreciate it.
And we didn't just think about doing Patreon specific content. We actually are recording this episode right after recording a full hour-long episode about something else. That will probably be posted to like the main show timeline, just to give people a taste of what the Patreon stuff is going to be about, and then we'll put it behind like the $1 Patreon wall for our lovely backers.
Yes. And as someone who not only is on Patreon but supports people on Patreon, it is really great to just support small and independent media. Like it really is.
Heck yeah.
It supports people's dreams, not to get all sappy and whatnot, but we truly do appreciate you, our Patreons. We love you guys.
And you're all so handsome. How did that happen?
Crazy.
So, with that being said, we'll see you on the flippity dippity. Also, hi. Me again. Please go vote tomorrow. Bye.